Hello everyone, on this video I want to explain how 046 plotting roll dices was assembled or put together. As you can see here, I'm going to click on a pivot table slicer and we can see that the number highlighted on that matrix pops up, okay? Now we can also make it, this selection right here is basically user defined. It's actually, you're selecting one of the 36 possibilities of rolling two dices, and summing up the result of the two dices, or you can make it random. So if you click roll dice, you can see that it just makes it really random, but it does come with a little bug, as you can see, and that has to do because of the spill error and ran between or ran array. Unfortunately, I tried all my best to fix it, but still gives a bug. And I'll tell you in a minute what was my approach, suggested by a person that I admire, that you will find out pretty soon. So, okay, so let's just switch it to maybe just arbitrarily, you just pick which one you want to see or visualize and sort of get the percentage, okay, of probability of getting, for example, that 5 there. So as you can see here on the matrix, basically, what we're trying to sort of visualize is, when rolling two dice, what's the probability that you will get a 5? So this is basically an emulation from an inspiration from this video that, if you go here on the tab inspiration, it comes from this video called bias theorem, okay, the geometry of changing belief, by the awesome YouTube channel called 3 Blue 1 Brown. Really recommend you to sign up or subscribe, because on that video, and I will leave you here the link, okay, in case you click there and want to watch it. He goes into explaining, what sort of the bias theorem is about. But the thing is, what I like is that he goes and explains that formula that you see there in a more graphical way. He goes really into just showing, let's use pictures or shapes to really, to this, how do you say this? The depict or to showcase what this formula is about. And I think it did a phenomenal job because, as soon as you see it, it just makes sense, depending on who teaches you statistics or inferential statistics, this concept can become very abstract and not very intuitive, okay? And I have studied it, just seeing the formulas, seeing the tables, also seeing the dice, okay? But in a more of a Gaussian, bell-shaped curve and, probability if and that, and some other, diagrams. But I think this video goes way more, he goes the extra mile and really just tells you in a very friendly way, how, really the bias theorems work, and really putting that formula into more of a graphical sense. I think the video is phenomenal. You should watch it, really watch it, okay? Stop my video and go watch this one, okay? It's about 15 minutes, worth your time, really. And actually the other videos on the channel is like, magical. Again, I'll continue here, and as you can see, you will see more other photos. I'm just skipping here so you can see all the images that they use. Really good stuff. And then on minute 8, that's another shape of seeing the probability of this based on that. I think on minute 12 right here, right about this time, I was watching this video, and then as soon as this one ends, I saw this, because I have seen the dice. I've seen this in another way, tables or, a bell-shaped curve. But as soon as I saw the dice just rolling in or rolling out, and then the table, he shows the table and shows how fast it moves, But what's cool is that it really is more intuitive. It's really intuitive to see it this way, that what's the probability that you will get a 5, What's the probability you will get a 5? So you only have 4 chances or 4 possibilities of 36, and that really makes sense because people now, I think people, in my experience, with business managers and decision makers, it is more intuitive to see something in this sense quantitatively, like 4 of this, 10 people out of 100 is this or that, or they do this or voted that, then 10%, the 10% is just a ratio, yes, and you can still put it in context. But 4 out of 36, you can maybe bring it to a lower scale of numbers, and it can make more sense for a lot of folks. And I think this is why I get from the videos like, wow, I never seen this display of the rolling two pair of dice and saying what's the probability of seeing maybe a 5 or maybe 11, you know. Now that I see this, I will never bet on betting a 2 or getting a 12. I will bet just getting a 7 because 7 is the highest that you can get. You get 6 possibilities of 36. So I think the video does a phenomenal job, really phenomenal job. And I really recommend you to go ahead and watch it. Really, really good stuff. Now, along with that, you will also see, going back to the file, that I'm gonna be using another new friend. You know, I have the zoom it. You know, that I have zoom in, and I can zoom out. But I just saw an awesome presentation by Dave Parody from thinking about outside the slide.com, and he has a YouTube channel. I'll show you in 1 second, but here's the tool. You do Windows Plus and you get this Windows Magnifier tool. Amazing, amazing. This is stuff. When I saw him on his presentation, I was like, whoa, what is that? What is that? And Windows Escape just to like take it out. And how do you activate it? It's already installed in your computer. So if you go to this link right here, magnifier tool, click YouTube. I already have it open. So let's go to that. And here you go and see Dave Parody, you know, how do you install? I mean, it's already installed, so it's free. So he will tell you within 8 minutes, you know, how to activate it, how to configure, you know, according to your size. You can see that mine is a little bit rectangulish. I like it like that. Maybe I'll switch it to a little bit of a square. But I think, as you can see, we can see, you know, Dave a little bit more magnified. And I think it is worth it, really worth it to go and check out also this video, this tool, because I think it's phenomenal. I'll also leave the links within the workbook there, and also leave them here on the description below so you can go directly to them, okay? All right, so now let's go to see the graphic and start with section number 1. Okay, and before proceeding to the formulas, okay, behind this, I want to explain or tell you that the reason why this graphic is part of Excel charts with dynamic arrays, because the only switch that you can do here is this, and there's nothing that it kind of like expands or collapse. Well, at least the arrays are, because these are dynamic arrays, as you can see. And let's use our little new friend, the magnifier tool, and you can see that right there, those are the spill ranges. Thank you, Dave, because this is an awesome tool. You can see right there, those are spill ranges, okay? Let's just cancel it. And basically here, sorry for the airplane. I live nearby the airport, so there's always a lot of airplanes, so sorry for that, in case I kind of bother. Right, so basically now, as you can see, this is the main core chart that you see here, okay? But the other ones too, okay, one that I'm on top of it, okay, maybe let's do this, so maybe we can just put him right next to me. Basically, you can see that this one is another one and this one is another one. Basically, these are copies from this one. So first of all, if we get to build this one, then the other one is just copy and paste and just remove some series. But the reason for this, and you probably are here and wondering, why is this one part of Excel charts with dynamic arrays? I mean, what makes it to be expandable or elastic? The thing is that for this plot right here, okay, there's a couple of layers. So for example, the first one is C dice. We remove the dices that were right here, as you can see, right here. Let's just activate them, deactivate them. And then I'm gonna remove the dice result, okay, the one that the user defines in case he acts, with the option of show below. Then we're gonna take the numbers, the labels, okay, that's another layer. And then we take the color layer, okay. And once we do that, we're basically with the core underground, okay, underline sort of series, which are these squares, which are markers, but I custom formatted them to be square and increase their size. We'll see that in a minute. And then basically here with this nice button, we can decrease it. So probably when you are seeing these videos, you're now wondering, okay, now it makes sense why he included it. You probably seen it on LinkedIn. Probably I made a promotional video for it. So I probably put wait for it, right? So that way you can see how this gets built. Now, if we go and just reset this to be, because this is connected to this cell, and we put 0, okay? As soon as you put 0, there's nothing. But as soon as I click on this button, then you start seeing the first square, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and you start seeing the matrix getting built up, as you start moving that. And you can do it manually, or you can set up a macro. On this one, I just left it with this button right there. And again, you will get up to 36. That will be the max number that is configured to. And as soon as you do that, then you can start adding the other layers, okay? So that's the only reason. Maybe it's a cheap one, sorry, but I think it was something cool. I think, again, like the inspiration, led me to this. And I kind of wanted to make it a little bit more dynamic. With that said, I think now we can move to the formulas right here. Okay, so in this part of the formulas, we're going to be explaining what's the underlying backend. Let me just tell you in advance that we might be going front and backwards to explain some of the logics and reasoning. I will try to be as very organized and linear as possible, but I want to tell you that this section of the formulas, okay, it is sort of like climbing up the slides, and then just to really just slide down very easily, to this part, and to all the other parts here, and even to the graphic itself, okay? So let's start with this right here, and let me zoom in. And you probably have seen on my other work on the other graphics, the same concept, the backbone formula, a formula that kind of like holds all the logics and sort of complexity sometimes into one array. And then the other ones are carry on from this one. So in this case, the very backbone formula of this is something very simple, very subtle. If error or sequence of B11, okay, no columns, and then to start from 0. If that gives error, then plot the NAs, because that doesn't go into the graph. I mean, it is plotted, but it's invisible. So, which is nice, which is useful. Now, you may be wondering, how come a sequence that can give error? Yeah, if you put a 0 into the sequence until this B11, that will give you an error. So, we want to step back and move this button right here. Maybe I'm just going to move the cursor over here. Yep, we're going to be grabbing all these fellows over here, okay? And I'm actually going to like move it over here, move this one as well. Let me just put that back again. And I'm also going to bring that one too, because that's necessary. And just those two. Yep, just those three for now. And I'm going to deactivate these two right here. Perfect. I'll maybe just bring them a little closer, because that's going to be necessary to make a smooth explanation. I recently did the same video, and it took me an hour and 40, I think, in Spanish. So I'm going to try to make it as smooth as possible on this one and not jump, between the screen. So let's zoom in again. And again, so basically now, if I were to put 0 here and Control Enter, with my form control that you see here, I can sort of increment it, by by one value, okay? Now it's 6, now it's 7, starting from 0, 8, and now 10, okay? Now, the following array, and maybe we can put back this to numbers 36, is this one. Basically, we use the int function with the previous array, and we divide it by 6 because of the number of sides of a dice. And then we add 1. Just in case, this logic or pattern, I learned it from Mike Gervin from Excel is Fun, which I'm also leaving the link below. Watch that tutorial because it is paramount. It is so useful to know these two patterns. This is one of them. To get 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, or the number of times you need it to be repeated, and follow the same pattern to the following number. So really, really useful stuff, okay? So what's really happening is that the int function kind of rounds the number to the inferior, to the nearest. Let's see what the description here is. Rounds a number down to the nearest integer, okay? Number down, that's important, because if it's 3.12, it will round it to 3. If it's 3.8, it will round it to 3. We might be thinking it will round it to 4, but not. The int function goes down, so 3 in this case. Let me just step back and put it again. And then, but first it has to do a division. So we're gonna grab those arrays, those numbers, and divide it by 6. these first initial numbers, these first 6 is gonna be decimals, 0 point something. That's why they're gonna be brought down to 0, and then we add 1, so that this array can start from 1, and then 2, 2, 2, 2, 6 times, and then 3, 3, 3, 3, 6 times, okay? All right, then the next array is mod function, which is also phenomenal because this will give us the remainder, after dividing a number with another one. Well, in this case, what's the description of the formula? I think it is returns the remainder after a number is divided by divisor. So you're left with what remains, and this is also useful because we can also get the pattern of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, I also learned these from Mike's video, and I will leave him on the description below. So basically, one intuitive way to understand mod in this case, in this context, is, for example, go to number 6, okay? So if you divide 6 by 6, you get nothing, You're not remaining with anything because 6 divided by 6 is 1, and there's no remainder. And because of that, you end up with a 0, but we add a little 1 to it, and then that's why you're seeing the 1 here, okay? If we go to the next one, which is number 12, that again, 12 divided by 6 is 2, but there's no remainder. And we end up with a 0, but we add up 1, and then we see the 1 again. And with this simple logic, okay, that, of course, Mike Gervin explains it way better than me, okay? So please stop this video, go to that one, and come back if you want to. Because we can get the 1, 2, 3 pattern, 1, 2, 3 pattern, or the number of numbers that you need it to be. In this case, it is 6 because of the number of dice, the number of sides in a dice. These two alone just get us the pattern that we're about to plot. Let me just step back a little bit and then plot these two, insert a scatter plot, and I will teach you how we get those into be squares. I'm just gonna make a little bit more squarish like that. Perfect. And the other thing is that you click on the markers, Control 1. Potentially you may see this window over here right behind me, and I'm just gonna like left click, rakata, and get it out, and then expand it because you can undock it. And then we go to format options, marker options. We do a built-in, and then we do square, and then we can do 40. I think I did 40. Yep, 40 is good. 40 is good. I think I did 42, but 40 is too. Okay, 40 is good. And then see, we can see that's how we get the squares. Okay. Now, this is a cool part because now what I'm about to is just turn those off for now. Maybe put this right there, and let's see, and turn this into a 0. So we don't see nothing, but as soon as we start plotting the array, we see the first square. That's why this sequence is connected to that cell there, because with that form control, okay, that you see here, we trigger the from a 0 to a 1, and then we start plotting things on the graph. Now, how do you set that up? Very easy. You go to Developer tab, and then you go to Insert, and then it's gonna be this option right here, which is spin button. You click on that, and then you see that like black cross. You expand it, and you can make it as wide as possible, but usually it's placed as vertically and this kind of standard width. And once you have that, you right click on that, and then you go to format control to configure it. The configuration is very simple stuff. Let's just maybe move the screen over here and put it. So basically we want to set up the current value 0, the minimum value 0, the maximum value to be 36, okay? Incremental 1, and then link it to the cell that we want to. In this case, for the one that is already placed, it is cell B11, and that's what you put right here, okay, or you define right here. 3D shading, just to make it a little bit more, I guess the 3D, so, and make it more pop. So with that, now we can eliminate that. That's how this one has been configured. And as you can see, we're starting to see the first square and now the second one. But see, look at the direction they're popping up. They're popping up from top to bottom. Now the other one, from bottom to up. Now, this is not what I want. I actually wanted to see it from left to right. As maybe you potentially saw it on the video on LinkedIn that they kind of said, wait for it, right? So how do we do that? Okay, for that, and this is the array that is plotted, but it's sort of the basis, okay? This is the basis, okay? Now we're gonna go to this array right here, and we're gonna put this to the side, and now let's zoom in again. And let's see what we're doing here. We're kind of doing an inverse of things. Here, what I'm saying is, okay, initially for this graph, and I'm gonna put it closer, okay, right here, for this graph, okay, the x-axis or the x values is the range in purple, this one right here, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is invert it and say now this one, which is the y one, now is gonna be here, okay? So that's what's happening. We're sort of inverting things. And now on this one, I'm gonna add half of a point or half of a value or half of a one, 0.5. So that way we can offset these squares a little bit to the right. Why? Because we're gonna need that space right here in order to plot the dice that you see on the other graph. The dice, that makes a very right here. Let me just maybe do this. And sorry, again, I gotta back out a little bit, but I wanted to show you those dices that you see, that you don't see them completely plotted, but these ones right here, you can see right here. All right, so let's just turn that and turn that and turn that. So that's the reason of the offset, okay? Just half points, 0.5. Now let's go to the next part. The next one, okay, now we grab the x-axis and we subtract a quarter or a 0.25 of a point because we want to move the squares a little bit downward. Once we do that, and now we can step back and replace this array and maybe actually put a 0, okay? And basically let's do maybe just 10 for now. Click there and move this array to be this one, to be that one, and this one to be this one. There we go. And now bring this to 0, and now start plotting. Now we're getting sort of the same effect, but they're all the way to the bottom. Don't worry, here we just gotta go and click here and fix the axis to be, I believe, to be, if I'm not mistaken, 0.75, just to leave it like that. Or maybe, actually we do have to leave this one 0 and this one for now, 7.5 for now, or maybe it's 0. Yeah, 7, there we go. And then we get that effect, okay? And there again, with those two initial arrays, those are the ones that are right now, see, plotted here. But check this out. I mean, this is important. We have, see, if you click on the blue ones, see that they're highlighted over here? Jack, we don't want that. So that's the cool thing about dynamic arrays, is that we can reference them. We can give them a name, a simple setup, and then reference them on the chart. Let me just take a sip quick. Okay, so how do we do that? If you see my previous work, I usually go a little bit nuts about it. I'm not gonna lie. I do enumerate my measures and my work, so that way it's easy for me just to say, where am I, on 20, on 40. So in this case, the first initial array is 0, 1, x pose, so x position, and then is referenced just to this simple reference, E14 hash or pound sign, depending which country you're in. And that's it. That's it. Pretty much you can see that everything is set up, but this simple configuration will give sort of a more, integral development to this type of works. So now that, let's step back, we go here. So basically, when you're there, add up a new mesh, let's say that we'll do, and let me just zoom in, 0.20, and then X pose. Then you add the pound sign here, pound sign, and then click OK, and then step back. And now we see that that is referenced, or that this array is referenced to that, okay? So now I'm gonna delete it, but I'm not gonna replace this scatter plot with the ones with this two right here. And it's very simple to do too, but there's a critical part thing, and that is surgical, that you have to do with care and attention. So click on this, now select data, select, let's do dice for now, and X, and click here. And as soon as you do that, you want to do this. Delete all the reference up to the exclamation. You don't delete that. And do function 3 or Fn F3 or control Fn F3 depending on your keyboard. And you want to add that name right there. And then click close it. And then for the next one, we want to do that one. That's why Y pose and X pose. Delete it real carefully. Fn F3 or function 3 just to say, I mean, depending on your keyboard. And then that's it. Once you do that, click OK. And delete this one, remove. Yep. Click OK. I think I got confused there, so sorry for that. I added and not edited it, so sorry for that. We can do this again, and this is good. So that way you can see Control 1, select the markers. Not very a lot of stuff that got it hands, and let's do 40 here. There we go. So it's a different color. Maybe take out the border and just the fill to be a little bit of a grayish for now. There we go. So now, because we reference the dynamic arrays or the spill ranges to the chart, now you can see that this, once I click on the markers, it is night. It's only selecting up to that point. And now if I go in the spin button, look at that. Ooh, this is sexy. Oh, this is sexy. If this doesn't excite you, you have no soul. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. And this is good. I mean, because you kind of have control of it. You can see also on the formula bar that we're dealing with define names that are related to the chart and then are sort of related to the cells of the spill range. And that's really, really awesome. So with that, now we can go and put this all the way up to 36. And basically we have the same part that we did here up to this point. Now comes the next two arrays, and let me just zoom in, which are gonna be for the color, and that's why you see them a little bit bolder here. This is for the color layer. So as I say, this work is a bit of layers of things. Now that I have this sort of layer for this, now I need another one that kind of inverse the dynamic arrays in order to place the labels, because on the original work right there you see that I have 2 here and then 12. You know, for some people they might say, well, a higher value should go over here and a lower value should go over here, right? But not the case. I mean, so how do we inverse this? Okay, and escape and Control 2 and go back to that. This is what we need. But essentially, we just replicate the same array from the X position. It's the same one, just equal to and reference to the spill range. But the next one is different. That one is different. I mean, we already know about the interior part, you know, and dividing it by 6. If I highlight that and add the -6, I'm just inverting the sequence or inverting the pattern. Instead of being 1, 1, 1, 6 times, now it's -6, 6 times, then -5, 6 times, and then all the way up to 1. But then that's what I do later is that I grab the plus or the times -1 in order to convert it to a positive value. And then I add the other part that I just mentioned, that I'm decreasing it a little bit, a quarter, you know, or 0.25, just to move the position a little bit lower so I can have space for the horizontal dice that you see on screen. Okay? And now we add that too, because we're gonna need to plot these two, okay, in order to place the labels that are coming next. So now I can potentially maybe delete this because I already told you how to reference the array. And now we add the color layer, and that's what you're seeing here, okay? This is not related. If you were clicked here, this is related to that we're about to get to that point. So what I'm gonna do now is just maybe do something real cool here that is something cool that I'm gonna talk later again. And I'm just gonna deselect these ones. And maybe if you don't see the whole screen, let me just move a little bit more. And this is what we're gonna do. Click on that and deselect all of these. I mean, this is kind of cool. You get kind of like a mouse over highlighting effect. Awesome. And deselect this, and click apply. As soon as I do that, there's a color layer and there's a dice layer. Look at that. They're different, but there's a subtle difference to it. And it's the position. The dice is the one to build the grid from left to right, but the color layer is the one that I will use to sort of invert that to put the labels to be in the order of the original work. So now maybe I can sort of deselect dice and click apply. And I don't think we see them, but if that's weird. We should see them, but okay. So if I click here, well, okay. So this is another way to get to these arrays because those arrays are plotted. They're necessary. Click that and go to format and then go to the plot area or the current selection and we're gonna click on color layer. That one right there. Okay, click there. And now let me just step back and go move, maybe do format and do shape fill white. And maybe we can move this and move it, right click and bring it to the front so that way we can all show up on screen. And there we go. I click it again. We're gonna have to click it again, format, and go to those. Sometimes it happens. That's why I'm also showing you another way. See, they're plotted. Or I think maybe I didn't make them squares. It was just dots. That's the reason why, because I can tell by the size of it. I never made them a square because I didn't need them. I just needed the position, okay, or an array for the position in order to inverse that. So that's what you're seeing there, okay. And on this position, now that I know that that's where the 2 is gonna be plotted, now I can proceed, and this is sort of my color layer, okay. That's why it's essential, because this part right here and this part right here are based on this right here, okay, because that's how it was designed on the original work. Okay, continue with that. Now the following array, and let's just zoom in, basically needs the true. So if this cell I11 is true, then proceed with adding the 2 arrays here. So 1, 1, 2, 1 and 2, 3, and so on all the way. But then leave it blank, okay? This is essential because we're not gonna plot it, okay? Okay, and this is because we're gonna plot the next array, which is this one right here, okay? And let's check out the formula. Do F2, Control 2, just to zoom in. There we go. So basically, first we need to check 2 things to be true. The first one is already in false, and okay. And then the asterisk to make it and, a Boolean logic here. And then in parentheses, if the array that we see here plus 1, because it's starting from 0, does not equal, okay, to the number or the value that is contained on cell AF44. If those are true, then plot the blue array that you see here, the blue spill range, okay? Else, just leave it blank. And the blank here, it is essential. So now let me just do Control 2 and just point out that this value right now is the one on 22. And maybe I'll do the magnifier tool for this one. As you can see, 21 is right there. You can see it on screen. And it's kind of cool that I can see we can combine the summit and this one. Nice, okay. I didn't know that. Well, I'm learning to use this tool, so let's just cancel the magnifier. And now let's just add the labels, okay? And now we can see we can see that this one is empty. And let's do the magnifier. There we go. See, we can see that that's empty. And that's awesome because on there, we're gonna use this space that you see here, a bolded label for the number that corresponds there. And sort of cancel the magnifier, cancel the summit. That's basically pretty much the part of all the formulas on this part right here. Let me just move the plot over here and put it right behind me. And again, we can take out the labels. We can take out the color layer. Again, eventually we don't see no change because I deactivated them. I'm gonna activate them again, just to place the position, okay, in order to get the original setting that they have, the 2 up top, 3, 4, 5, all the way to the bottom, ending with the 12, okay? Now let's go back to example and activate the number labels, and I think we're good. I think now let's just activate those arrays again, so that way we can continue with the tutorial here. Kind of nice feature, to be honest. And there we go. Okay. So now in essence, we have like sort of jump into section 2, which is actually the graphic itself right here. And again, this the essence here, okay, is that we have used layers in order to sort of get the hack of a basic layer to construct the grid from left to right, and then use another color layer in order to be used for the labels of the 2 on top and 12 right here on the bottom. And also that's the one that is actually gonna go, that is gonna be used for the colors layers that will coming here to number 3. Just in case, I may want to click on the plot, and maybe I did touch it briefly, but I want to touch it again because that's important. As you will see here, I'm actually, if you click and deactivate, maybe, well, I already did, but I'm not going to do it again. I'll do format and go through this section right here and do click dice. So as you can see, dice is the one that builds the layer from left to right. We already saw that, and that is this one right here. Okay, that's on the, probably is the most how do you say, the most underneath of all. Okay, and then if we go and click format again and check out the next one, which is gonna be color layer, we see that it's right next to one, and we don't see big squares, we see sort of markers in circles. Okay, and that's the one that we're using to plot the labels. Again, sorry that I'm being a little bit pedantic, but it's for you to really grasp the logic behind why one and then the inverse. Okay, the inverse is to position the labels in this way in the following the original design. Then format, I think now we can go ahead and check out the ones that are sort of 0s and 2 and 3 and 4. Though I gotta say that just in case, select data, I already show you how to reference them, okay, into the other plot that it was temporarily. It is something that you have to do with care, and as soon as you do, I wanted to share you with this caveat, for example, dice, and click edit. You will see eventually the name of the file, which is 46 plotting dice rolls, and then we see sort of the 01, that name, and that automatically gets introduced. It's something that I have control. Our Excel automatically puts the name of the file into this section right here. So just in case, if the next day or maybe you try to do this again from scratch, just, bear in mind that maybe you want to do short names for your files for this type of work, because else it's going to show up there, and you potentially will be hard to know what's actually being sort of, what the file name is being used there, okay? Click cancel, step back now, and now we can go to section number 3. So what are we doing in number 3 here, which is actually essentially the layers here. So we can see I click on the red dot and this one right here, and you can see the blue markers of that marker, and then that is related to that. So what are we doing here? Okay, maybe a little bit of housekeeping, because I think I moved things around, and that way we just want to keep things put here. And then this one, put it over here. And then this button, I want to put it over here. And then eventually, maybe I'll bring down the graphic like that. Okay. So basically now let's zoom in onto this section number 3. Basically now we have a simple if function where we actually checking, hey, look, if the color layer is activated, okay, which is this part right here, and you can see that I have fixed it with absolute references, because I'm gonna copy this formula to not the next one, but the next one after this one. So column O, and then column Q, then column S, and so on. So if that's true, then filter, and this is essential, filter was on this array on the red one, which is this one right here, okay? Whatever on this array equals to M10, which is a number 2. So in this case, it's just gonna pull out one number, okay? Because there's only 1, 2 on this array that we see here going down on the blue purple. Else do an NA, and NA is beautiful because that is not plotted. That is a simple logic, and then go to the next one, and then here on this one, so we can see that again true is fixed. But I forgot to mention, see, I went a little bit fast. On the filter section, same logic, okay, as the one before, but now we're dealing with this array right here with the Y position, this one right here. But check this out. If you can see, I did put the $sign and the $sign to these two on the reference of their column, so they don't move up and down. I mean, they get fixed sideways, you know. I'm gonna be copying these formulas, these two formulas, to the next two cells every two cells, and I don't want these ranges to be moved sideways. I don't want them to be moved to the next rows to the right. So that's why I put the dollar there to fix them. Basic reference cell reference theory. And again, we can do that again with the other one. We fixed them right here. So just want to clear that is right there. You see the $sign. So now what I'm gonna do is I grab these two and I paste them here, and paste them again, and paste them again. Okay. And because we're dealing with the spill range, you will see that you see the blue marker right there of signaling the spill range. All right, and we repeat that all the way up to the very first 12 right here that you can see. And with that, pretty much, then we manually just plot this and put it into each individual series that, as you can see, is number 2 for that. And number 3, okay, is this one right here. And we do that again and again and again, all the way up to 12, okay? And that's it, pretty much. As soon as you get that, we're pretty much covered with everything that is being plotted all the way up to vertical and horizontal and show dice, okay? Which we're gonna touch once we get to section 8, okay? But essentially now we have the color sort of layer and background. Okay, we might be missing also another value here if I click select data that I haven't touched, which is the random, okay? Random is the one that actually, if I activate here, and maybe you will not see it, okay? And that's gonna be part 5, which is coming up. But before that, we wanna touch number 4, okay? See, disactivate, disappears, activate, disappears, activate, or deactivate, sorry, I'm being fast. Okay, there we go. So now we have that. Let's maybe deactivate for a minute. So once we build these two graphics, it's just a copy of that because we already have the arrays placed, okay? But I'll tell you this, as soon as we get to number 7, maybe it's another way to maybe just build these two once you get to 7. But in case you already wanna sort of replicate this on your own, then you can just make a copy of this and delete the color arrays and just leave the ones that is dice. So because if you go here, see, I clicked on the markers here, and then go to and you see that these are the ones, the underlying layer of to build the grid from left to right. And the one on the bottom, and then the one on the bottom is essentially, yeah, you can actually go ahead and copy this, and eventually it's just about deleting a bunch of arrays and just leaving the ones colored. So if I right click here on the graphic and select data, you can see that we see dice and we see 2, 3, and 4, and 12. Essentially you can delete dice, but you can leave it there, it's fine. Whatever, either of the two, delete it or leave it there. It's okay. It won't affect anything. Or let me double check right now, and else I'm gonna be prove you wrong. So let's click OK. Yeah, nothing happens because these ones that are being shown are the ones from this array that we just built. And just in case for consistency, Control Z just to leave it there, just to leave my soul, just calm that. Maybe later on that action didn't, you know, it's not gonna pass some toll on me. But I don't think so. It's independent. So it probably got carry on, and I didn't delete them when I finished this file. So that's section number 4. And now we want to go to section 5 before going into 7. And what do we have in 5? Let's go to here and maybe get closer, a little bit closer. So the first thing is that we got we got a pivot table that you can see here, which is built from this range. And then we got another pivot table which is built from this range, okay? And from there, we can go to the next section. But in case, if you see my presentations, I have explained this in quite detail just to see okay, how do we build a pivot table? And it's very easy. So I'll do this very quick. I know if you already seen this, you can maybe fast forward a little bit and select that, click insert, and then what we want to do is select the pivot table, and then basically on a new worksheet. Once we have that, you probably will see your pivot table in this format. Okay, and I want to share. I always share this tip. You can switch on the gear icon and switch it on the second option, which is side by side, and then left click and rakata on docket, and then expand it, and then option, we want to put it on the rows quadrant. And after that, it's all cosmetics, because essentially now we can go right click, show pivot table options, and we want to deselect this little guy, deselect that out of it. Now step back, and then again is cosmetics here from here now. Click this one, which style is that? I always mention in this, I use this style, which is gonna be, should pop up anytime, white pivot table or pivot style like one, and then click on repair layout, tabular, and then grand totals off for rows and columns. Once we have that, now we can copy this pivot table and put it right here. And essentially we're almost close. Show pivot table fields list. Right click here on the option of that one, add slicer, and as you can see, we can have the slicer for that. Okay, now two things here. You can name your pivot tables, which is I think good practice, because later on for other works you can put a name to this. So the one that you see here, click, it will have either 1 or 2. Oh, sorry, for this one that is right here, and I put it right there below, is pivot table number 2. So just give names to your pivot tables and also enumerate them, because I think it will pay you a good price. And also enumerating your slicers is also good practice, and I do that when they show up on my name manager, which is right here. So maybe let's just delete this one right here and delete this pivot table for now. Go back to the name manager, delete the 20 define name that we did. We don't need that. That was just for teaching purposes. But as you can see that I have, essentially we have the color positions. Yep, we put that on the chart. And I taught you how to do it. That's the one that you see right here. Well, actually it's not, we don't see them. It's just small. It's the series is plotted, but we didn't increase the markers. It's just circles. Now the labels, we did that. We placed that, and I'm not sure if I showed that. I think I did. Okay, I think I did. In case I didn't, and let me know in the comments, and I'll explain how to do it on step by step in a written format. And then the last is possibilities, which is I'm coming next, and that's why I wanted to sort of hold it down here. And the other two, number 7 and 8, are the slicers that you can see here, over here. So basically these two right here. Yep. Now the cool thing about a spill range is that we can reference to a pivot table. Okay, and if the spill range grows and we update the pivot table, we will see this new data in the pivot table. And this is a cool thing to know. So now let me just go here, and this is the one that we're gonna be talking about. Okay, number 6 possibility, reference to AC45. And what do we have there? Basically, we just have the B stack formula, which can append 2 arrays vertically, and the first array is just possibility, kind of like the headers, and then sequence just to 6 by 6 to give me a sequence from 1 to 36. We now combine these two, and that's what we see as the result. And again, step back, and I can just insert a pivot table. Once I have that, I can go ahead and delete that, and then function F3 or F3 or FN, F3, depending on your keyboard. I'm gonna add that define name, and now click OK. And now I have again the spill range reference into a pivot table, and then we repeat the process that I just showed you a minute ago with setting up the pivot table. And that's what you have here, basically right here. And right click, and if we go pivot table options, we see PT1, example PT1. All right. With this part, now we come to the next part, which is a sequence, okay? And these, well, actually, before touching that, or actually, let's expand it. Why not? So the problem is that if you combine rem between with sequence function, you will get a spill error. And this is what I mentioned at the initial part of the video. If somebody knows how to fix this, I will really welcome it, because it is quite a pity that we cannot combine these two. And the reason is because rem between is a volatile function. So sequence have a hard time just knowing what the real size of the spill range is, and that's why you get the spill error. But a good suggestion for my friend Bo Rydobon, he told me wrap it with expand, and then that will handle the spill, and it did. But when he told me that on LinkedIn, I couldn't figure it out, so I went to my other mentor, Andrés Rojas Moncada from the YouTube channel Excel Hecho Fácil, and then he told me how to do it. So one told me the theory, the other told me the practical part, and he told me do this and reference it like this. I did, and that's what you're seeing there: sequence, and then of that array, and then after the comma, how many rows? I know it's gonna be 36 because that's the number of options. That's why you see 1 and 36 on the rem between. 36 gets repeated because that's gonna be up to the number of rows. 1 for the number of column, and then double quotes to make it blank. And as soon as we do that, I will tell you that this is a cool thing because we can combine a rem between or a volatile function with span, and eventually we get this. So see, you can see the numbers there popping up. And what I'm doing on the other side, on the next function, I'm just grabbing the max function. With the max function, I'm grabbing what's the highest number, the highest number on that array. So now let's proceed to that. So that's what you're seeing there. The max is the last part, but before that, we're comparing if this cell on blue equals choose below, because that's being referenced on the slicer. The user has the option to select one of the possibilities or just to do random. So if he chooses to choose below and be arbitrarily, then we're gonna put what's on cell 40. What's on cell on the red cell, or the red reference AC44, because that's commanded by the pivot table slicer. Else, just go ahead and do the max of this spill range that I just explained that contains the rem between, and this one could be anything. So I wanted to add that touch of randomness, but then again, we'll see it again. I'm gonna explain. We get the bug that the spill error pops up, and it's hard to kind of like control it. And now we move to the part right here of this, which is gonna be the X position and the Y position of the following. Here, first of all, we gotta check if something is true, okay, which is commanded pretty much by seeing the dice result that you see right here on top of me. If that's true, then proceed with the index of checking the spill range of E14 on this value of 21. So this 21 I just mentioned is position. So position on that array. If it's not, then go ahead and plot NA. So let me step back and then maybe move a little bit over here and see over here. There we go. So, oh no, we need more space. There we go. Perfect. So as you can see right there on screen, I'm right there. So the 21, I want to see on which position on this array is. So this is position 1, 2, and 3, and so on. So I'm going to go grab position 21. And the same thing is for the Y position. But I'm doing it in a different neither spill range, which is this one right here. And then again, that's the basic logic. And what I can tell you is pretty much that once we have that, that's what you're seeing here. Click see dice, and eventually that's when it pops up. That's when we see the random being plotted. And if we go click here and maybe click on the plot and then format, and then click here to select random, see random is the one that we see right here selected. So that's random, okay? And that's, again, controlled by, and maybe if I'm kind of clashing it with this one right here. So this one controls this one, which is the one being plotted right here. And that's it pretty much. With that, that's section number 5 Again, there's some of randomness here which carry on part of 6, or just in case. I did kind of touch 6 in a very fast way. The setup of these pivot tables and to be on that format. I have explained it again, but say that you wanted to maybe enhance it. Once you have the pivot table slicer put in place, you go to slicer options and you duplicate whatever of these ones you want. I duplicated this one, the white slicer style light 3, and then I enhance it with a couple of things, modify, and you can enhance pretty much all of this. So you can enhance it the way you want. I always go with a very minimal touch. Really don't enhance it that much. I just take out the borders and change the font type to be Arial, and that's about it pretty much. Besides that, then you increase to number of columns, and you do that here on this section, as you can see. So I increase to be 6 columns, so that way you have that. And since we're dealing with 36 possibilities, it just arrives to be very symmetrical. And then the height, just to be by default, comes out to be 0.51 centimeters. You can decrease it to be 0.4. And that's it pretty much. Now that's number 6. And now let's go to number 7. And we're getting close to end. Here we just let's position ourselves here on this section. Number 8 is very easy. Number 7 is the one where we get the bug. And if you watch up to this point, wow, thank you. I'm very humble because I'm not doing this for the likes or for the number of views. Not for the number of subscribers. It's basically love to art. And I say in a very humble way, it's just love to art. And just to share this, because I know a couple of people are very interested just to know, it's not dark magic or anything. It's just, I think taking advantage of the flexibility of Excel and just that pretty much. So I hope you take a couple of all the tricks that I have, that tips and tricks that I have shared home, and try to apply them in other settings or contexts or challenges or problems. Okay, so number 7 right here. As we can see, let's just zoom in. We have another if formula where it's checking if two things. It's checking if 11, which is this part right here, if that's true, and it has before that the ampersand, which means n. So now step back. Let me step back here, and we're checking if two things are true. This one and this one right here, because that's important. If we want to see the dice result, then we can go ahead and plot for this one. I think I went too fast, and let me just step back a little bit. And then what I'm trying to show you is that essentially section number 7, all of this that we just mentioned lightly, is for this part right here. Is in order to get just the one that comes either highlighted of the possibilities of, defined here. But then out of those possibilities, for example, we're choosing number 21 of 36, and that's this one right here. And now we're just highlighting of what are all the possible combinations to get number 7. So essentially we're just plotting this part here and bringing it over here on this section, just highlighted. So it's an easier way just to see, well, you have 6 possibilities of 36. And again, if we wanted the percentage, that's about close to 17%. So section number 7 is just about this chart that you're seeing right here. All right. So let's go back to the formula again. I just wanted to mention that because I don't think I went too fast, and just remind myself, oh, you got to mention that. I did that on the Spanish video. Now I know that I did it there, and I want to replicate here. So, all right. So we just check those truths and then proceed with the index. And we already know what FF44 is. That's going to be our position, which is defined here. Okay. And that goes into this. And then with the index, we kind of go ahead and search for 21 on this array, okay? And pretty much that's it up to that point. Else, if those two are like false, then proceed with the blank. I could have used maybe an NA as well, but blank also helps in this part. Here, then again, is just a basic formula here where we actually just using, if that's true, okay, if this part is true, as you can see on screen here again, then proceed with concatenating sort of the p, in parentheses x equals 7, and close the parentheses, concatenate it. And that's what we're getting over here as a text box, okay? And just in case, real quick, how do we reference a text box? It's very easy. Just insert a text box here, and then click it on the formula bar, equal, and then just say that you want this again, and then enter. And as soon as you do that, a text box can be referenced to a cell value. Very, very useful for annotations on your charts, custom annotations, okay? Let's just delete it. And then the next part right here is another if formula, but this one is a little bit just adding something else. Maybe just a step back and get yourself over here. Here, this one is just saying, hey, check if what? Check if, again, this part is true, okay? And that goes over here. And proceed now with sort of the COUNTIF. COUNTIF of, we're going the criteria range, so we're checking how many times 7, okay, is on this array. How many times? So we're counting, and then we're dividing it by the 36, and then we're formatting it with text function to be percentage. Else, just go ahead and leave it blank, okay? And that's it pretty much. Again, this one right here is connected to that text box over here that you can see. That one connected to the formula bar, to this one right here with this text box. There we go. All right, now the arrays. This part is important because with this one we can sort of combine this logic here. We're saying, okay, if 7 equals to the spill range horizontally, and if it's true, then plot that, okay, that same spill range. Else, just do an NA. And as you can see, here are the 7s because that is matching what we see here. Sorry. The next one is just sort of very similar, but we're just plotting the header of the X and Y position. And then else blank. And then the next one, then that one is where actually we are just gonna get this let me just move this a little bit and put it there. And there we go, and zoom in. So again, if that is NA, then proceed to plot NA, okay? Not available, error. Else, do the filter. So we're gonna filter these numbers, okay, based on the condition that they match with whatever is on M29, which in this case would have been a 2, but because it's not present, it's not gonna work. So that's why we added the NAs. So those NAs are not plotted. They show up, but they're not plotted, okay? And again, the same part is this formula, same, but now we're dealing with this with the Y position instead of the X position. And once we do that, basically we highlight these two and we copy and paste it again and again and again until we get to 12. Now do check something here, that the formulas have the $sign. I already mentioned this on the previous section, the one on top. Okay, I believe it's number 3. And then that's important because we're gonna be copying and pasting this. Aside from that, now let me step back, and this is what eventually we're seeing once you make a copy, and I think I mentioned this just a couple of minutes ago, is that we make a copy of this and we can build it. But if you click to build this one right here, sorry, if we click here on this array, it's not coming up from here, it's actually coming from here in order to get the highlighting effect. So if we click on another one, say for example this one, or maybe the 9, and click there, now we know that it's a different one, but it's not coming from here, it's coming from here. So this is the part that is being plotted. Section number 7 is the one that is being plotted over here, and that's what you're seeing. And eventually, again, what you have to do is to each individual kind of like this one right here, maybe I think, yep, number 36. So you plot that, and that is 1. So you have to bring down the ranges that you have here, the ranges that are there, and you have to bring them down in order to just finish this one. And eventually, if you go and check select data, you will see that you get the dice again. No harm if you delete that, but actually here you do want to leave it because you want the gray squares on be left, okay? You want that in order to make the contracts. In case, you can also take them out, but I will recommend you to sort of leave them there. Just in case, I did mention, I'm quite forgetting that, for example, here on the axis, and if you click on the plot, there's a couple of things that I didn't mention, format, and I want to mention them now. You can go to the vertical value axis, and it selects that element right there that I'm highlighting, okay? And if we do Control 1, or actually Control 1 now, we see that the formatting is to be 7.75, 0. They're fixed because you can see the red reset button is activated. And this is activated as well. So that carry on until the other small plot. And I think for this part right here on the bottom, which again, if it's really hard to find an element, just go to Format and go to Current Selection, and then go to Horizontal Value. And then you can see that it's highlighted there, okay, right there. Step back, and Control 1. And we can see here that the options or the bounds have been set up to 0 to 7. And they're fixed because we can see the reset button is activated. Just wanted to mention that because I don't think I mentioned that on my Spanish video. Now I'm feeling, again, horrible because on one video I say something and on the other one I skip something and vice versa. And it's, yeah, but we have to do our best job. Okay. With that said, that's pretty much it. Yes, and again, the bug, okay, but it works, but sometimes it doesn't work. So I wish we could have a solution for this, but unfortunately, there is none. Unfortunately, it is what it is, which is quite a pity, to be honest, because I thought that with the expand function, it would kind of control that sort of randomness. It does it here, but it doesn't do it on top. So it does it here, but it doesn't do it on this part right here. If anybody knows a solution, let me know, please. All right. So let's continue, and now choose below and add the last part. And I think maybe we have to move our chart a little bit to the right and activate the last part, which is see the dice. And as you can see, there we go. We can see them. So now that's section number 8 and the last part, and we're done. So for that, again, a couple of other formulas. Okay, if I click on the circumference of these dices that are aligned vertically, that's one array, which is this one, and that has two formulas. The first one is, let me just zoom in. If C dice is true, then proceed with a sequence of 6 times 0. So all that array is 0, 0, 0, 6 times. But then we add a little bit of a 0.5 or 0.5 in order to plot them. Okay. Let me just back up. In order to plot them right here in the middle. So what you eventually see in here, and is that the markers are right here in the middle. So that's what you're seeing eventually being plotted. Let me step back, and do this. Yeah. But it's hard to tell. Now, that's why 0.5 for all these, and then the next array, which is it defines the Y position, is gonna be this one right here, which is again true, and then sort unique. This is important. We get the unique values from this red array, red spill range, and then we sort them to be from lowest to highest, and that's why we get 0.75, 1.75, 2.75. And that's the one that is giving pretty much the order to get the vertical position. Now, for the horizontal position dices that we see here on top, okay, right on top of me, here, for example, now we have basically the WF42, and maybe I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit and put it myself there. Okay, so if that is true, then grab a unique, okay, the unique items from the red spill range that you see there, and that's why we get those sort of 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, just once. And then here is kind of cool because it's an inverse of this one that we just explained a little bit. It's very similar. And basically here what we're saying, okay, if this is true again, to see the dice equals sequence of 6 times 0, okay, we get a bunch of 0 as you can see on screen. And then we're adding the max function of the 1 on red, and then we're adding a 1 so we can offset it. Remember that we offsetting the other side. Now we're offsetting again to be a little bit above, okay, a little bit. Now on this case, to offset it a little bit up, so that way they don't clashes with the grid. And else, if that's not true, then not, okay. And once we have that, basically we have those positions. So eventually what you're seeing here are big size markers. Again, I have explained this, but let's do it real quick. Format series marker, and let's see what the size of that is. Number 30. So 30 is the size of that. Now it comes the part on between, the part in the middle, which are the dots of the dice. And basically for that I did have, if you click on there on the markers, it is just markers, and it comes from this array. But this array, these two over here are conditioned, and let's just do F2 and do Control 2. See if the dice equals true, then plot this range that is gonna be fixed, because these are all the possible, all the sides from the two dice for the X position. If it's not true, then go ahead and do NA. But for this part, I had to manually sit down and just plot what will be their exact position. So that's why here is just fixed. It's just hard-coded values. And then the next formula right here, and we're done, is basically the same, but we're grabbing it not from the X position, but from the Y position. And that's it pretty much. I mean, with this is concluded. That's all the back end. I hope I'm not forgetting any other detail, and if I did, it's small, and I apologize. And if you watch it up to now, wow. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I will definitely check it out. Again, not doing this for likes or subscribers. I'm just doing this love to art, and just to show and share great tips and tricks that you can do with Excel, because the tool is very flexible for these type of things. Very flexible. And you can get very crafty like I did. And if somebody knows about this bug right here, please let me know. I will definitely like to implement it and get it fixed, and then make another video, give you the credits, or put it in the comments or put in the job description. I'll probably do a video because I would like to know how we can fix that spill error and not get this bug over here. With that said, this is it for me, and I will see you in the next video, which is gonna be potentially 47. Okay? Thank you for watching.